Leffall. I'm a student in the Spring 2018 Group Dynamics class under the leadership of Dr. Ruben Garcia. On Friday, February 23, 2018, from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m., I led a group discussion in my home on conflict management with 6 women. These women were not related to each other, nor were they related to me. They were associates of mine through organizations I am affiliated with. I led this group alone. In my introduction, I shared with them that the purpose of the group was to discuss conflict management. I told them that I chose this topic because conflict impacts every aspect of a person's life, personally and professionally. I asked each lady to make a commitment that what was discussed in the session will remain confidential and not discussed outside of the session. I asked the group to also silence their cell phones. The ladies were also advised to limit their comments to 2 to 3 minutes. I also made them aware of the possibility of my having to cut them off to make sure all individuals would have time to share. I wanted to be respectful of everyone's time. I handed each lady an index card and I asked them to introduce themselves by first name and to select from what I had written on the index card how they most often respond to conflict. The options were: A, I withdraw to avoid conflict. B, I refuse to lose when I am in a conflict. C, I try to make peace when I am in a conflict. D, I try to compromise when I am in a conflict. E, I try to resolve the conflict. Or F, if neither describes you, in one sentence, how do you respond when you're in conflict? I expected them to select one, but several of them had combinations of responses. For example, one lady said that she withdraws to avoid conflict based on who it is with. And there are other times she would try to resolve the conflict based on who it is with. I used the conflict management animated video to segue into the discussion. The video was of 4 animals in conflict: a moose, bear, raccoon, and a rabbit. I asked each lady to share which animal best described them in a conflict that they may be currently in or one from their past. They were a little slow to respond, but I thought that maybe they were thinking it through or they were waiting on someone else to go first. Nevertheless, when they started, they were all engaged. I had planned for the group to take a break after this portion, but it did not seem like a good place to stop because they were so engaged in discussion. So I let the discussion continue on. But then I started to feel a little antsy because I had planned a movement exercise or physical activity, and I didn't feel like it would fit. But an opportunity presented itself when one of the ladies shared about a conflict that she did not feel would be resolved, and she did not feel it should be resolved. That was my opening. I had the women stand and pair up as in a dyad, facing each other. And I asked them to push against each other as hard as they could. I let them do this for about 10 seconds, and then I asked them to stop. At that point, I emphasized what it felt like when the pushing stopped: relief. And then I said, that's what it feels like when there's a resolution to a conflict: relief. In assessing myself, I am clearly a relational leader. I was intentional about treating all group members as equals because of the varying ages in the room. I did not want the younger ladies to feel devalued because of the older, wiser women in the room, and I didn't want the older women to feel as if their responses to conflict were antiquated. However, there were a couple of times when one of the older women shared a resolution to a conflict that one of the younger ladies were experiencing, and her resolution had to do with life experiences. And on one occasion, one of the younger ladies shared a conflict, and it opened the door for one of the older ladies to be transparent and share about a conflict from her past. On 2 different occasions, I was able to link 2 different conflicts, and the group came up with one resolution that fit both conflicts. In the 5th chapter of Group Counseling Strategies and Skills, it mentioned the importance of explaining terms. So I was careful not to use terms that would need to be explained. But what caught me off guard was one of the ladies asked me to define conflict. I was able to define it, but I wish that I had defined it in the introduction and not have assumed that we all had a clear understanding of conflict. In conclusion, I believe the highlight for me was when the session ended and the ladies asked, when will we continue with part 2? This meant a lot to me because I was concerned about wasting their time. But they overall seemed to have felt that it was time well spent. So I was extremely happy regarding that. The area that I believe I need to enhance my group leading skills would be assessing members' interaction styles and making sure I am knowledgeable about the topic I'm discussing. I think it would also be helpful for me to know when to ask an open-ended question versus a direct question. Additionally, I would like to be able to discern when to give a mini lecture or provide more information. I found myself trying to be mindful not to lecture and allow the group members to talk. But I think there were opportunities for me to mini lecture, but I made the decision not to because I wanted the flow of the discussion to continue on. I wanted to invite 12 ladies, but I was concerned about my not being able to navigate that many women. But what I realized during this process was that sometimes the conflict is not always with other people. Sometimes the conflict is within. So going forward, I will choose to trust God in what He's able to do through me versus what I believe I am capable of.